Hello, and welcome to the 404 Media Podcast, where we bring you unparalleled access to hidden worlds both online and IRL. 404 Media is a journalist founded company and needs your support. To subscribe, go to 404media.co, as well as bonus content every single week. Subscribers also get access to additional episodes where we respond to their best comments. Gain access to that content at 404media.co. I'm your host, Joseph. And with me are the 404 Media co-founders Sam Cole,
Hello.
Emmanuel Mayberg,
Hello.
and Jason Kebler.
What's up? What's up?
Before we get into the stories, I just wanted to alert people to the fact that the video archive for our latest FOIA forum is online. If you just go to 404media.co, and then there should be a FOIA forum archive button at the top. You click there and you'll be able to get to the YouTube link for our latest session. And this is when we had Seamus Hughes on and we spoke all about how to dig up US court records. It was insane, to be honest. Like, I learned so much in that session, and I'm looking at US court records every single day. So if you are a paid subscriber, definitely go check that out if you weren't able to catch it live. And of course, it's also just there whenever you want to, brush up or get new skills about digging through Pacer. And if you are a free subscriber and you do wish to access that, you can, of course, sign up at 404media.co. All right. We have two massive stories to dig into today. The first is Sam's. Leaked documents show Nvidia scraping a human lifetime of videos per day to train AI. Sam, this is an insane leak. You got a ton of material from inside Nvidia. Before we talk about what the leak shows and everything we learned from it, just what is this leak exactly? Like, what documents or types of documents did you actually get?
Yeah, I mean, people who listen to the show or listened to last week's heard me talk about how exciting it is when someone hits you up on Signal and is like, I have some spreadsheets for you. So after we published this story about Runway, which is a machine learning company that a former employee had leaked some documents to us showing that they were scraping thousands, tens of thousands of videos from YouTube. Someone saw that story who was a former Nvidia employee and hit me up on Signal and said, hey, Nvidia is doing something very similar, basically. So what they sent over very graciously was a ton of stuff. Like you said, it was spreadsheets, it was emails. Most importantly, it was Slack messages and conversations where there were people talking in this project channel about how to go about scraping academic data sets and scraping YouTube, how to screen record Netflix and the Discovery Channel. It's just like all this stuff happening out in the open in this one big Slack channel with everyone on this particular team. And the project itself was called Cosmos, which is the internal name for this project that we're going to discuss.
Yeah. I think a leak is really good when you get Slack chats. Like me and Jason got quite a few of those back at Motherboard when we were reporting on the security app Citizen. And when you get Slack chats, you get people who are talking not just when they realize a journalist is eventually going to be listening, but the tone is different, obviously. And I think that would apply to any sort of company, right? So these conversations are going to be very frank. They're going to be very blunt. And you touched on it, but what does this leak show Nvidia doing? Like, what are they scraping and what sources and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, the conversations, like you said, that's a really good point. They're very candid. So, of course, people working at NVIDIA are professionals. They're a lot of them are like engineers and project managers. They're all business, so they're not in there sharing memes, but they're definitely talking in a way to each other that maybe we don't get to see very often from the outside. So, what they were doing, and we know some of this from emails about the project and kind of their stated goals and things like that. So, they were making a state-of-the-art video foundation model And this is a quote from one of the emails that encapsulates simulation of light transport, physics, and intelligence in one place to unlock various downstream applications critical to NVIDIA. And so it was basically they were creating this, they were creating a data set first to then feed into a video world model that would then basically serve a lot of their commercial products. So you have like their humanoid like avatar stuff, Omniverse, which is like a 3D world building thing, GeForce, which is gaming. I think Manuel's
Yeah.
can correct me. Yeah.
Well, that and also you can stream games. That's how I know it. I
Yeah.
mean, Emmanuel, just briefly, like, what's the GeForce
Wait,
element there?
before that, can we do our sort of ritual how to pronounce word? Is it Nvidia or Nvidia? I've said Nvidia my whole life, and I have
That's
no
what I said.
idea
That's
actually.
Nvidia.
It's
It's Nvidia.
Nvidia.
Nvidia?
Nvidia, yeah.
That's how I say it. I please
It
don't
never
be
occurred to me to
mad.
say it any other way.
Every, we can say it.
Nvidia.
We can say it however we want. We got the leak. You know, it's up to us.
I had
But
no idea.
Jensen
Emmanuel,
Huang, let us know. Listen to the podcast. let
yeah,
us
yeah,
know.
right in. Emmanuel,
Now I'm like, now I'm
what's
gonna
the
be thinking about that every
GeForce?
time.
Exactly. What's the GeForce connection?
GeForce is just their branding for all sorts of gaming products. So it's a streaming thing you were referring to for cloud gaming. I believe their video cards used to be GeForce branded. Their desktop application for a lot of NVIDIA features is the GeForce Experience. It's just a gaming brand.
Sure. So, as you say, Sam, they're doing this work for various purposes. But what's the deal with? Is it for research or is it for commercial? Is it one and then the other? Sort of, what do we know about that exactly?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear from the emails and Slack conversations and all that this model was seen as something that the company could use to improve their commercial products. So, it's like they had people kind of all mixed in Slack together. So they had, like researchers, research scientists, and then also people from like Omniverse, which is, a commercial product. And then we can get to this maybe a little later, but like some of the emails show people from the very top. So literally, Jensen Huang was in the emails saying,
And who is
great
that for
work.
those who
We
don't
can.
know?
Oh, that's the CEO of Nvidia, but yeah, famously signed someone's chest at some like event recently is how people might know him. But yeah, so he was in there saying, great work, great updates. Also pointing out that this would help them be competitive, basically, that other companies have foundation models, but this could potentially set them apart. So yeah, it's kind of it's a little bit of everything, it seems like, mixed in. And we talked to a few experts in like the academic excuse me, the academic and research fields about how if you're going to do research, you should have a firewall between research and commercial, which Nvidia definitely did not in this case. And they were just kind of grabbing all the content, all the data that they possibly could from whatever source necessary, whether that was academic data sets, whether it was YouTube. They had discussed Vimeo at some point. Anywhere that had like high quality content seemed to be fair game.
Yeah, I mean, even if a company claims to have some sort of separation between research and commercial or some sort of firewall, if you're all in basically the same Slack channels, you're going to be bouncing off each other. You're going to pick up ideas from each other sort of regardless, right? Like it is not a clean divide in this case whatsoever. You mentioned the CEO briefly there. So was this activity, and by activity I mean scraping of YouTube and Netflix and other sources, was that approved by the higher ups in the company essentially?
Yeah, so it's interesting to see the Slacks in particular, the Slack messages, because what you see are employees who are not like who aren't across probably a lot of these approval processes, or certainly not like across major like legal considerations, but you see them kind of popping in and saying, "Hey, is this okay? Like, is what we're doing fair game?" I think at some point someone brought up the hypersensitivities that Hollywood feels toward AI and how like they should be careful about doing um, a project like this because something they were like, well, something similar happens with the release of Stable Diffusion, where it was criticized as replacing visual effects artists in Hollywood. And of course, during the strike, it was a huge sticking point for creatives versus like the studios for using AI and the fight to prevent AI from being replacing actual artists. So you have people kind of popping in and saying, "Hey, let's think about how sensitive people are to AI, and then also like, can we actually like, is this okay to scrape? Like YouTube creators have their own copyrights, but we're taking YouTube videos from these big data sets." And then someone, like a project manager, like someone high up, like a leader in the project will say, "Hey, yeah, everything is fine. Like, please just," basically like hand waving them, like saying, this is, someone had said this was an executive decision, or we have umbrella access to um, all of what we're doing in here. We have umbrella access to all the data that we want. So it was from, like I said, like from the very top of the company where they had approval to scrape and to download everything that they could get their hands on.
Sure. I mean, okay. The higher ups of Nvidia saying it's all cool, you can chill, relax is one thing. And I mean, you sort of brought up the ethical considerations and then touched on the legal ones as well. But like, there could be legal consequences here, right? And as we're recording, I think some news is broken, I think through Bloomberg, that OpenAI is being sued, right? Obviously a different company, but for scraping was it YouTube content? I need to fully brush up on
It
the
was
story.
like the captions from
Yeah.
YouTube, like the transcripts of YouTube videos, I believe, as well as like some of the metadata associated with it.
So, I mean, obviously we don't know the outcome of that case because it literally just happened. We're going to see. But point being, this isn't a world free of consequence. And did any of the potential legal ramifications come up in the leak? Like, were people saying like we might get sued or anything like that?
No one said we might get sued. People did bring up like just in general that other companies were getting into some hot water with scraping, and in like, especially they were bringing up like in the public eye, it was not a popular thing to be doing. We write about this in the article a little bit, and of course this has been covered all over the place. And like you said, it's like it's hard to keep up with the lawsuits being thrown around right now in terms of like these companies stealing and like it's always like it's either like a theft thing, or it's like I think the latest lawsuit is has to do with profit and whether or not they had unjustly enriched themselves at OpenAI using other people's content. So something that someone brought up in one of the Slacks was, and this is someone high up in the company, they had said they did bring up legal issues kind of very lightly. They just kind of said, is legal across this? Has legal approved this? And I think the reply was basically, this is still an open legal issue. Using copyrighted work in a commercial model is still up for debate, basically. And that is something that's being like litigated in the courts right now. It's I think everyone's just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with some of these cases. We have literally every big company: Stability, Midjourney, Runway. The New York Times is suing OpenAI. Like, they're all getting complaints filed against them for this similar stuff. But we won't really know what the legal precedent is until one of these lawsuits goes all the way through. So.
Well, I think
Yeah.
I think it's very telling because when the comment from Nvidia is basically, they said, quote, they defended its practice as being, quote, in compliance with the letter and the spirit of copyright law. And then sort of the longer quote that they gave us is basically like, we have fair use to train our AI models on this content. And we talked about it a little bit with Runway last week. And then there was a story I wrote, I believe on Thursday, about Suno and Udio, which are the AI music generators that are being sued by the RIAA. And in that case, Udio is saying, or I believe it's Suno, is saying, we trained our music generator on tens of millions of songs. Basically, any song that we could find on the entire internet, we trained on that. But their argument is like, this is transformative, it is fair use, we are allowed to do it. And I think that that's a change from what AI companies were saying publicly a few months ago, when there were a lot of journalists who were asking, like, what are you training on? Are you training on YouTube videos? Are you training on Netflix? Like, what are you training on? And I think at that point, like, a lot of the companies were saying, we believe we are allowed to train on whatever we want, but they wouldn't say that they actually had. It's like a lot of them sort of like sidestepped the question, and then a lot of them said, yeah, like we scrape via like robots.txt, like we're grabbing stuff off the internet, but we're also licensing content, we're paying companies to get direct feeds of their data, so on and so forth. And here both like Nvidia, probably Runway when it comes down to it, and then Suno and Udio are saying like, yeah, we did it, and we believe we have the legal right to do it as well. And that, like you said, that's a huge open question. I know you talked to some copyright law experts who essentially said the same thing.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a shift. And Sam, I think just my last question is, I mean, we mentioned what Nvidia said. What did Google, which of course owns YouTube, and Netflix say about this?
Yeah, so Google did its usual copy paste.
Thank
As
you,
we
Google.
mentioned, as we mentioned last episode, Google said that their previous comments on this issue of scraping YouTube still stand. They pointed to an article where they said on the record that that scraping YouTube like this is against the terms of service of YouTube. That's all they said. And then Netflix, there was some talk in some of the Slacks about like, oh, well, we should make a deal with Netflix. Like Nvidia employees were like, oh, we should like do some kind of content deal with Netflix where like they are allowed basically to ingest Netflix content. So I hit Netflix up and I was like, hey, is there some kind of deal going on with Netflix and Nvidia for this sort of use of content? And Netflix said no, they do not, and the platform's terms of service don't allow scraping anyway. So yeah, I mean, and I think it's also notable to mention that just like with Runway, Nvidia was using virtual machines and refreshing IP addresses and using YouTube scrapers and downloaders to do all of this. So they were doing it again, kind of under the radar without approval of YouTube, because if they were allowed to do it, they would do it without all these workarounds. So yeah, those are the thoughts from the two big ones that are mentioned in the story.
There's some pretty amazing Slacks that you got that if you're watching the YouTube version, I just pulled up on screen, where Nvidia employees are talking about which specific YouTube channels they should download. And this includes like MKBHD. It includes a channel called 8K Earth, where they also like put in parentheses like here's why we want to scrape these things. So for MKBHD, who is one of the biggest tech product reviewers out there, tech product reviews super high quality. The Expedia channel, like pretty standard travel channel. 8K Earth, very nice images of animals, plants, and scenes, super high quality. And then they talk about, getting like cooking content and outdoor content. And so this shows that they're doing something that was very similar to what you reported last week about Runway. It's like they're specifically targeting some of the biggest YouTube channels and then trying to download that content.
Yeah. I think the last thing I'll say before we move to the break and go on to Jason's story is that both this article and the Runway one, some of the replies I get on social media are like, this is just the same as a human watching a YouTube video. Like, what is ethically and legally the difference? And it's like, this is not a single computer watching a single or a series of YouTube videos. It is an entire system, a massive piece of infrastructure ingesting the entire creative output of specific creators, specific companies. If you were trying to draw a parallel between a single human watching YouTube, even like me, a complete sicko who watches it for 5 or 6 hours a day or something, even I would not be like, oh yeah, it's exactly the same, because it's not. The analogy just falls apart. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's nearly 80 years worth of videos a day. Like that's crazy.
The other argument I saw is that, well, even if you scrape the video, like you're getting the revenue for the ad impression, which one, that's not necessarily true because of the way that they were scraping it. And two, there's a huge difference between one ad impression associated with downloading a video in order to like create infinite amount of content that competes with those videos and like a human being watching a video. It just like, it doesn't make any sense at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous defense. All right, we will leave that there. If you have any more leaks about AI companies, send them to Sam, please. We will be right back to talk about Jason's story, where after months of investigating, he's finally found out where all of that spam, AI spam on Facebook is coming from. We will be right back after this.
We all know that home-cooked meals are so much better for us, but we don't always have time to pull it off. With HelloFresh handling all the meal planning, shopping, and most of the prep, it's easier than ever to get dinner on the table quickly and painlessly. I'm not gonna lie, this last week has been really crazy for me. I've been working on a few investigations that are taking all my time, and I look up at my computer and it's time to start making dinner. With HelloFresh, I've been able to remove the stress of grocery shopping and recipe searching from my life. So I've been making meals that are better than takeout and better for me. I recently made a delicious saucy pork and cabbage stir fry that I was able to spin up in about 25 minutes from start to finish. It saved me time, cut my stress, and it was a delicious home-cooked meal. With HelloFresh, there's always new flavors to explore with an ever-changing menu of 50 recipes to choose from every week. HelloFresh lets you easily customize your delivery from week to week. Tailor everything to your schedule by adjusting your delivery date or just skip a week when you're not able to cook at home. Just pick your meals and your delivery date. It's that simple. For free breakfast for life, go to hellofresh.com/free404media. One free breakfast item per box while the subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life just by going to hellofresh.com/free404media. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
All right, and we are back. This is Jason's story, where Facebook's AI slop comes from. That's a great headline. I don't know who wrote that. That's really, really good. Okay, you've been investigating this for months, obviously, Jason. Anybody who has even casually listened to the show will know that you've been like the leading reporter, basically, on AI spam on Facebook. You've finally found a key answer. So my question is, broadly, who is doing Facebook AI spam?
Yeah, so this is my magnum opus. I think you're all probably sick of having me send you YouTube videos in Hindi and Vietnamese and be like, watch this video, which you can't understand. But basically, like we talked about shrimp cheeses, we talked about all these different types of Facebook AI spam, and the biggest question, well, there's a handful of big questions, but the biggest question is like, who is doing this? How are they doing it? How are they making money? Like, what is the scam here? Like, why is it going viral? Like, all of this sort of thing. And we've done a series of stories about like, why isn't Facebook moderating against this? Like, are the people interacting with it real, so on and so forth. But I didn't know until relatively recently who is making it and how they are making it. And the answer is basically like thousands of people in Southeast Asia are making these bizarre AI images using primarily Microsoft's AI image creator, which is used to be called Bing's AI image creator. And then they are posting them on Facebook, either in an automated or sometimes like painstakingly manual way. And they are doing it to gain entrance into a program called the Facebook Creators Program, which is a program where Facebook will pay you based on like interactions and page views and reach and things like that. So they essentially like pay you to go viral. So the answer is basically like Facebook is directly incentivizing and paying for this. And the way that it's happening is there's a handful of YouTube influencers who largely post videos in Hindi, explaining like exactly how to do this, why to do this, how to get into the like Facebook bonus program, and then you have like a bunch of people following those instructions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll drill down on each of those, but that's, as you say, that's sort of the broad supply chain. Before we drill down on each one, how did you actually find this? Because, of course, as I said, you've been reporting on this for so long. Was it a matter of stumbling across one particular YouTube channel, or you did a particular search? Because I remember when you were even just searching for stuff in like Vietnamese using Google Translate, and like, how did you finally find the lead or the link that led to this story?
Yeah, I was desperately looking for these communities because people may remember that I found a community of people on Discord who were making like AI generated videos for TikTok. And it was a similar vibe where they were basically like buying classes about how to do this from like an influencer at the top of the pyramid shaped scheme. And then using
for legally distinct reasons, blah blah blah. Yeah. No, but okay.
And then they were like trying to do it themselves. And I thought it'd be very easy to find the same thing for Facebook. And I couldn't find anything for like a very long time. And to your point, we knew that a lot of these pages were being operated out of people in like Vietnam, the Philippines, Bangladesh, India, etc. So I was searching in Hindi, I was searching in Urdu, I was searching in Vietnamese, I was searching in Filipino. Like I could not find anything really. Like I could only find YouTube videos about the bizarre spam, not how to do it or like anything like that. But then like I had looked at all of these different Facebook pages, and a lot of them were linking to this site called Vercel, like vercel.app. And Vercel is like hard to describe even what it is, but it's basically like a cloud platform where you can install a program like on their website and then run it from their website. And I was just like, I don't know what this is for. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with Facebook. So I typed in like Vercel Facebook into YouTube, and I found like a series of videos about something called the Vercel trick. And the Vercel trick, I won't explain the whole thing, but basically it was a way to have like redirects from Facebook images. Like you would link a Facebook image to a website, to like a spam website, and Vercel would be the means through which you would do a redirect to get around Facebook's like automated spam detection platforms. And like once I found that, I was like, okay, like interesting vibe. But I would just click around the YouTube pages of the people who were teaching the Vercel trick, And basically, like, that's when I found like the gold mine, basically. And it turned out I had been searching for the wrong thing. I
Right.
should have been searching for Facebook Creators Bonus program, because that's how people are branding it on YouTube. They're basically like, come do the creator bonus. Don't, like, they're not calling it AI images, but then when you watch the videos, you see that it is this bizarre AI stuff. And from there, I found like hundreds and hundreds of videos.
Yeah, it's like every different grift or hustle or whatever across Reels or TikTok or Facebook or YouTube has a name. Even some of like the Telegram communities I follow, right? They all have like, oh, the Cash App trick or whatever. You just have to find the right term. So you mentioned these tutorials, they're on YouTube and Telegram, right? So just briefly, what do these tutorials show on YouTube and Telegram? Is it very simple, just like do this, you get money, or what is it?
It can be simple or it can be incredibly complicated. I think it's like there are people who do it at an industrial scale. There are companies that do it. There are people who like use all of these different tools that have been developed that help you spam Facebook more efficiently and in a more automated sort of way. And I did find all of those and I like included that information in the article. But for the most part, like these YouTube influencers are basically like, you can do this on your phone using free online software.
Which is
Um,
just like the TikTokers you found. They were all showing they could do it on their mobile phone as well.
yeah, I mean, and they're basically all like use Bing. Use Bing, and the way to use Bing is like you go to Bing, you search image creator, and then you basically use like copy paste um, AI prompts, and the AI prompts are coming from these Telegram groups and WhatsApp groups, and basically like the YouTube videos are like, watch my YouTube video, then join my Telegram channel, and then in the Telegram channel they'll have like a couple prompts to get you started, and then it's like, pay me money and I will give you the rest of the prompts.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
there's like a course hustle on the side as well. The usual join my Discord for $50 or whatever. And you've just brought up some of the prompts. I mean, what are some of the shorter ones?
You don't want
Because there's one that's really long in front of me and I can't see it because the screen's very small. But it's like,
Yeah,
oh my
so
god, don't read that out.
like flight attendant flooding with Shark Jesus saving, Jesus with American soldier making birthday wish, Jesus Christ sand sculpture. There's a lot that is like poor African child with recycled bottles, which I don't know if you remember, but there's like a lot of really bizarre images of like a stereotypically like poor African child, like just wearing rags and standing on a dirt road, and he has like this incredibly intricate um, like sculpture made of Coke bottles. And it's
Yeah.
like I watched people make those in real time on YouTube.
Yeah, and I remember the US soldier ones. I just think it's crazy that we've seen so many of these spam images, and you've literally tracked it down to the prompts that people are putting in to get those images. So they do that with with Bing image generation, and that's all well and good. But then they have to get it on Facebook, and you actually tested this yourself. How did you test the process for getting these AI images onto Facebook?
Yeah, so I mean, you can do it yourself, as in like with your phone, you can manually upload every 15 minutes if you want, which is incredibly like arduous. But some of the influencers I talked to and saw, I talked to a couple of them, and then I watched like tons and tons of YouTube videos. Um, were doing it themselves. Like they had like little manual checklists where they were going through and were like, every 15 minutes, I'm going to post a picture and I'm going to put a little check mark in my journal to show that I did it, which I'll pull that up for people on YouTube now. But it's like, it can be incredibly manual, or you can get different software that helps automate it. And one of these pieces of software is called FewFeed, and it's just like Facebook spam software. It was made by a single developer in the Philippines who calls themselves Cryboy, and it costs $10 for 2 months. Like it's pretty inexpensive.
That's pretty good.
And it's so powerful. Like, I was shocked by how powerful it was. I was shocked that it worked at all, to be honest. But basically, like, it allows you to bulk upload as many photos or reels as you want, and then you can go in and change the text. You can like add all your hashtags or do whatever you want to do. um, but it also lets you control like dozens and dozens of pages at once. So I have it pulled up here, like if you're watching the video of this. It has like each individual page, you can have it post to like 30 different pages at once if you want. And the way that you control all of these is you can import Facebook login tokens, which you can find yourself if you're making Facebook accounts manually. But you can also buy these in bulk. Like there are websites that sell essentially like hacked Facebook accounts or accounts that people have just made. And they're usually like 50
Which are like
cents.
the zombie accounts that you found before. This is how they come back to life in a way.
Yeah. So you can have that, and then you can like post the images from there, but you can also set them to automatically comment, but comment at like random intervals with somewhat fuzzy logic to basically avoid Facebook's spam filters. So it will comment like from different accounts in different orders, so on and so forth. It also has this tool that allows you to seize control of groups that don't have admins, which is something that happens all the time where someone like makes a group, it gets thousands and thousands of people in it, and then that person like dies or their account like they lose interest, they leave the group, and so then there's no admin. And Facebook then allows anyone to claim that they are admin. So you can do this in bulk, and like I've seen videos of like just claim thousands of Facebook groups and then you control them and you can do whatever you want with them. You can change the name, you can like change what it does, like so on and so forth. And that was happening at scale for sure.
That's crazy. And I guess the final part of this supply chain in a way is you mentioned this creator program. How exactly is Facebook paying these people? You said it's based on engagement. Like, is there any idea of how much money they might get paid, and how does that work exactly?
Yeah, so Facebook launched this program, I believe, a few years ago, but only a few months ago they expanded it to include photos. They were initially trying to get like just influencers to use Reels. And TikTok has a similar program. And it's like all of these social media companies have a program like this where they are trying to get like really famous influencers to post on their platform. And so when Instagram was trying to compete with TikTok, they're like, we will pay you to use Reels because we want to compete with TikTok. They recently expanded this program to India, so you can be based in India and get payouts. It used to be just like US and a couple European countries. When it was that, I found a bunch of YouTube videos about how to basically spoof your account so that it seems like you're in the United States so you can get approved for it. But yeah, basically like they're paying based on likes, shares, views, comments, etc. We don't know exactly like what the algorithm is. And anecdotally, Facebook is changing this all the time. There was like basically this guy became a celebrity because he posted an image of a train made out of leaves that made $430. And like he was showing his Facebook panel because Facebook will show you how much money you made per image if you're in this program. And then once he was able to do that, he basically like made the rounds on the podcast and YouTube circuit. So I've seen this same guy talking about the same image on like 5 different podcasts. And it's
It's
kind
just a
of
good train. Yeah, we should
it's
have
just a
him on.
yeah, we should have him on. But he was basically saying like, I used to work 12 hours a day in Mumbai, and I was making, he says, between $120 and $179 a month. He was taking care of his family, and now he just like posts AI generated images on Facebook, and he makes 5 times that from one image. He says that he bought his disabled brother an auto rickshaw with this money. So it's real money. And I think that's an important part of it is like, $400 is a lot of money, but that's very, very rare. But a lot of the images that I saw were making a couple dollars, like $10, $15, which may not be worth it for people based in the US. But if you live in a country where the cost of living is much lower and where wages are much lower, it can be worth it for you.
Can we talk about Facebook's response and what we think it means for the platform going forward?
Yeah, so I talked to Facebook about this, and they did send me a statement eventually. But basically, their position is like, what's the problem? They're basically like, this is what the program is for. If real people are like generating art using their creativity, and then
Arguable.
and then humans on Facebook are interacting with it, like that's the program working as intended. And I don't want to get deep into it, but if you like look at Facebook's most recent earnings call, Mark Zuckerberg is like traffic is up, like broadly speaking. He's basically like people are using Facebook again. And so I don't know if you can attribute it all to like bizarre Facebook or any of it to bizarre AI, but essentially Facebook's position is like this is the system working as intended, and we're happy that they're doing this, and we don't have a problem with it. I sent them tons and tons. Like I wasn't ratting out any individual creator, but I went on Facebook and I found like 50 super bizarre images and sent them. It wasn't 50, it was less. But over the months, I've sent them at least that many. And they very rarely take it down. So their position basically is like, this is what we want.
I remember when Facebook was like, we're connecting the world, we're connecting people, and maybe they still believe that. I don't know if they're achieving the same ends when they're connecting people to AI spam.
Joe, it's funny you say that because to me that is what the comment is signaling,
right,
that Facebook actually wants. So I agree with Jason that we don't know if this AI generated content is the reason that Facebook is seeing more engagement, but the stated position, I think, is that they are knowingly pivoting from being a social network where you connect with your family to a more TikTok type platform where there is like this engagement casino where people are posting a ton of content, and some of them are going to go mega viral, and that's good for TikTok and it's good for the person that made that content because TikTok is paying them, or in this case Facebook is paying them. But most people are just there to kind of scroll through a ton of content and not engage. It's just like this passive consumption, and I think it's been trending that way for a while, right? With like everything Facebook makes is becoming more like TikTok, but this is sort of aligned with that. It's not about social network, it's about just consuming a ton of content.
Yeah, and I think that like while I was doing this, it's very interesting to see the humans who are making this stuff and who are essentially like I kept saying playing Facebook like a game, but it's more like it's their job and they're penetration testing Facebook to find out like here's what content works. I'm gonna spam it. I'm gonna get money out the other end, and it's a job. And I don't really begrudge them for doing this. I think that someone smarter than me and who has like a better cultural context than me, I think that there's space here to sort of like explore Facebook and Microsoft's role in just like introducing these tools and then saying like have at it. There's like basically no rules. And then you have a bunch of people in Southeast Asia essentially turning into like low paid, for Facebook at least, like it's not a lot of money for Facebook, low paid like content copy pasters at scale. It's like a American tech colonialism slash like power grab where we are just going to have like thousands and thousands of people generating tons and tons of whatever and putting it on Facebook constantly. I didn't talk that much about Reels, but there's an entire like world where people are just copy pasting reels from Douyin, which is China's TikTok, and posting them on Facebook. And they're doing that because like Chinese reels don't have like American copyright protections in terms of like they're not in the system, like the automated copyright detection systems in the same way. And so you basically have like an army of people just copy pasting stuff from other platforms, putting it on Facebook, and then Facebook is like, wow, we have all this content to show people and we can serve ads on it. And I don't think that that's good. Like I think it's just it's very complicated, because some people are making money doing this, and that's good, like ostensibly, but the incentives are pretty whack, I think.
Yeah, it's a outsourced workforce to make a bunch of chum that other people can engage with. It's crazy. We'll leave that there. I feel like now you've discovered it, you're actually going to have even more stories about the particular people and the particular techniques, but of course we'll keep an eye on it. If you are listening to the free version of the podcast, I will now play us out. But if you are a paying 404 Media subscriber, we're going to talk about the DEF CON hacking conference and our plans for it this week. You can subscribe and gain access to that content at 404media.co. And with that, I will let Jason play us out.
I'll be on vacation next week, so goodbye.
Bye, Jason.
As a reminder, 404 Media is journalist-founded and supported by subscribers. If you wish to subscribe to 404 Media and directly support our work, please go to 404media.co. You'll get unlimited access to our articles and an ad-free version of this podcast. You'll also get to listen to the subscribers-only section, where we talk about a bonus story each week. Another way to support us is by leaving a 5-star rating and review for the podcast. That stuff really does help us out. This has been 404 Media. We will see you again next week.